Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Episode 26 of the Ready, Set, Shag podcast, where I get to sit down with some of the people who I admire from around the internet, some friends, some people that I just want to chat with, maybe not necessarily admire, but would like to learn more from. And as always, my guest this week is no exception to this rule. He is a man from down under, an editor, YouTuber, and uh, and friend. Mr. Grant Gregory is here with us today. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, man. More importantly, yeah, that last one, friend. I like that one. I like that one the
Yeah,
most.
yeah.
My nearly 110,000 subscribers, they can all go to hell as long as I got friends. But not really.
Yeah.
Please don't unsub. I'm so close.
Well, for people who don't know who you are, can you why don't you give people a quick rundown, maybe a little bit more than what I just did, so they can familiarize yourself with you and your work.
Yeah, I basically like to just do edits for people. Anything that's new sort of technology, I like to see if we can push the boundaries, especially with stuff like AI and generative large language models. I kind of quite like those. But yeah, I just like to do edits, and if I can use a new technology to meme someone, I'm all the more happy for it because I feel like that's where technologies can grow and everything. Anyone can use a new technology for something nefarious, but if you can use it to make someone laugh, that's even better.
Yeah, I've it's actually one of the reasons I want to have you on. I mean, one, because I mean, every time I have you on the show, whether it's midweek hump or the break or anything else that we're doing, I have a lot of fun with you and discussing things with you. I think you bring a bit of, I don't know if calm's the word, but humor for sure to everything, which is really relaxing. You can
Well, I
really
am pretty funny looking, so it helps. So
you're like you're like the human icebreaker. Like everything, like, I don't know if that makes sense, or maybe that's the wrong phrase that I'm looking for, but like any sort of tension or like any moment that seems a little off, like I think you can really bring uh a bit of lightness to the mood, like really lighten the mood rather. Um
yeah, I'd like to thank the writers of Marvel for undercutting every bit of tension with it, and I took that and decided to use it in real life.
uh I mean, so one of the reasons I want to have you on, as I was going to say, is it regarding AI because you use it quite a bit. You've been able to simulate my voice in a fairly realistic way. I mean, there's been a few things that you've had me say that I was nearly indistinguishable from, maybe not words I would say, but if you heard our voices side by side, you would probably think it was me talking. Um, is there? I mean, I guess the initial question regarding AI is, do you what what limitations do you think should be set on AI at this point, if any?
For me, the limitations are I don't care what you do it for as long as you're not doing it for anything nefarious.
Okay.
If you're out there to make someone laugh or do anything like that, that's fine. But if you're going out of your way to hurt someone with it,
Hmm.
whether it's through a joke or anything, I think it's AI is a tool and it's about the intent
Right.
versus the actual image. Obviously, there's always going to be some unforeseen consequences on the side that you don't realize. And then when that comes, you just look at it at a basis by basis. But so far, I've had more people be angry at me because I dared to duplicate a voice or I created a song and, I'm taking money out of starving artists' mouths. I'm like, well, I was never going to hire anyone for this anyway to begin with.
Right.
So it was, yeah, or um, I like to do audiobooks and everything. So you do stories and that just for the kids sort of thing. Not that the public ever sees it, but it's a good tool to be able to do that. And the missus is she's an editor as well, and a lot of her videos and stuff that she does on her YouTube channel. Will add a familiar voice from someone who I've cloned, whether it's like Mad's voice has made an appearance every now and then, saying a funny line, but just to add a little bit of context. And it's also AI is the ultimate tool to the single creator. Like that's the ultimate goal to be able to be a singular person and be able to create something, whether it's a movie or audiobook or whatever.
Yeah. Do you think that? So I've been seeing little reels and stuff, shorts about AI editing, is it how do you think, like, is that something that's worth looking into for people who, like you said, are just working solo and don't have the means to hire someone? Is AI editing
Yeah,
that's in a place that could be utilized?
yeah, 100%, absolutely. Like, as someone who's like, my profession is editing. Um, sorry, I'm trying to get my camera to work. Literally, when I turned it off and then turned it back on. There we go. All right, so we got it.
Yeah, there he is.
Here we go. Yeah, so as someone who's an editor, like by trade, that's how I make a living. It's really frustrating when I see all these automatic AI edits because I know the craft, so I can understand where people do it. But instead of being against it, I embraced it. I use certain tools with editing and different things to try and um, bring it all together. So anything that can make my life a little bit easier, I'm happy to do it, even if it does mean potentially me being not so much out of a job, but more people filling up the space. I hope answered the question. I kind of forgot halfway through what the question was.
Basically, like, I've been seeing things about AI editing, and I'm not really sure how it works, but people are saying like, oh, like this program, it's an AI edit, and you throw your footage in there, and it can chop it up in a into meaningful clips. Not necessarily like I guess Opus Pro, the
Yeah,
website you had showed me, is essentially an AI editor to make shorts for and TikToks for you. Some of them are pretty good. Um, I think their algorithm trending, or not trend, but their social score that they put on there is hit or miss. Uh,
it is extremely, but that's also another tool. Like, the I used it when it first came out. There was no editing or anything involved into it because it was nice and quick and simple. Now there are other tools out there that can do that, and you can change the text. Even Opus Pro itself is starting to allow shifting and everything, so it's actually becoming more of an editor. And I think that's where it's going to um, be utilized. Like, I've seen so many clips now that they don't even change the color. They don't even change they do no customization to it. I'm like, if you're gonna do this on your channel, like short only channels that are doing it, I feel like it's one of those weird ones. It's that I don't like to use the word stealing content when it comes to that, because if it's your own stuff, it's completely different. But
right.
like, if you're just gonna slap a filter over it and throw it on there, which is essentially what Opus is,
Yeah.
um, but you've now got the ability to do something more creative. I feel it's lazy to not utilize all that tool.
Right. Yeah.
So like, when I was first showing you, we put one of your videos in, and we couldn't even change the font at that stage. It
True.
highlighted what it wanted to highlight, so it was good for something nice and quick and simple. Like, there you go, low effort, bam, get it out there, get some views, and it works because it's short form, easily digestible content, and that seems to be what's the key now to growth, especially on TikTok. I barely ever touch TikTok, and the few times that I've done TikTok videos, they've gone crazy. I did one for a small channel. It was a gardening channel, and I just literally did the Opus Pro sort of stuff and other ones that are very similar to it.
Yeah.
Cut down her video. It was 20 seconds worth of work, and she ended up getting 10 million views on it.
Holy moly.
Like, it's something insane like that. And then I spend 46 hours editing a rap video, and it gets 50,000 views, and it's just like, what's 50,000 views? That is awesome. 50,000 people see it. But in comparison, there is a little bit of a frustration with it, but that's what the algorithm wants, and that's why Opus is good for that. But the biggest problem is I see so many clips now, and it almost becomes boring and repetitive.
Hmm.
I don't care about the content because it's just like, as I said, it just looks like it's just a filter over the top now to me.
Yeah, I that's the thing with shorts and video clips that I do. I in the back of my mind, I'm this like weird perfectionist, and I'm like, I don't want to do it unless I can do this 100%, and
Yeah.
that gets in the way of getting stuff out. And I think a lot of people suffer from this. I don't think I'm alone in that. Um,
No, you're the only perfectionist in the world, I'm pretty sure.
and I'm not even good at it.
Yeah.
But like I always,
But that's
I look at
fantastic for a perfectionist. Never been
right,
good at it. That means
right,
you've always got a goal.
yeah. I want to. I actually paid for a year of Opus Pro because I wanted to experiment more with it and watch it kind of grow. Because seeing where we had first looked at it to where it is now, I love the customization features. I love that I can put in a 20-minute clip and it'll spit out 15 or 20 different ones, and I can toggle what I want. So if I want a longer TikTok video, I can slide it over and do a 1 to 3 minute, clip there. If I want a YouTube short, I can do 30 to 60 seconds and it'll cut things down. Some of them are really good. Some of them are like a little janky that I've had to go back in and like get rid of some filler words. And I try not to use them, but it is what it is, and everyone says them. But it's nice that you can go in there and I can just click the word and then delete it. I can add an emote in there if I want to spice it up. They even have the B-roll function on there, which isn't very good. I've tried it
No,
on a
but
couple of clips, but
that's the way in which they use that one now. They're waiting for people to do it, and then every time you do it and it's bad, how things like Opus Pro and all those evolve is by you giving it feedback. Um, Prime example of giving feedback without even ever realizing it. You know how you had "You Are Not a Robot"
yeah.
things on that. You know who was responsible for all that? OpenAI and ChatGPT. We were training the ChatGPT model to be more like a human by doing that under the guise of a security measure.
Oh, okay.
So that's what
Interesting.
I'm saying. That's how it learnt to do things more like a human and be everything like that. Just little things from that, and then it can run the simulation 300 million times to try and get the result. That's how they work. So if you really want it to grow, when something that's really good, make sure you definitely give it the thumbs up. If something that's all right, if they've got a star rating, give it an honest rating in the stars. And if it's bad, thumbs down it straight away. Let it know that this is not what I wanted.
Okay, that's good. And I haven't used that function yet within there. This is good. This is why we're talking and why I want to have you on, because I don't the thumbs up, thumb down thing. I'm like, what does that mean? I mean, I know what the function
Yeah,
is, but I don't
but
realize that this is part of the training program
that
behind.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's 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 all it's all training, and that's at the end of the day. They're not giving you a function without recording it. It's the reason that like Midjourney and Dali have become so good. Like I did a post beginning of December, I think it was. 1st of January to 1st of December, same prompt, two completely different things. One looked like a cartoon, one of it looked like an actual legitimate photograph. And
Mhm.
that's all because they included a love heart thing. You like that, and then what you can do is when you go onto the website, all the ones that you've liked are now in their own column. So that's like your own collection. So on the face of it, you're collecting all the things that you like, but you're not collecting the stuff that's bad. At the same time, they're going, all right, all these ones that are doing this, they're comparing the prompt to to the output. And what Midjourney, the reason why it succeeded was it used to run a little task. It'd give you two images,
Mhm.
and it would say which one suits the prompt better. And it's the same prompt because when you do a Midjourney prompt, it gives you four outputs for the one image,
Right.
and you tell it which one it is. And if you do like maybe 100 of those, it's just this one, this one, this one. They'll award you an extra hour worth of GPU usage, so they can
Oh
give you
wow.
another thousand images at fast speed. So you got rewarded for that. So people used to just set up auto clickers to do it, but it kind of defeated the purpose. But I'd go through it because I
Right.
knew what they were doing.
Yeah. No, that's really good to know. It's funny because AI to me is a very double-edged sword. Uh, I think if you, as you said, treat it as a tool to something, to help you uh, conceptualize things, especially as a solo artist or solo creator. Uh, in the beginning of all of this, it can be overwhelming because you want to do stuff and you want to conceptualize ideas, but you don't have the means to hire someone to do it. And with my with my book I'm writing, I started doing some prompts for my characters to visualize them, because I can't. I'm working on learning how to composite like in Photoshop, but
Yep.
um, I wanted just something like, here, this is what the person looks like, their age, the hair they have, go. And I did it, I don't know, 6 months ago. I used this thing. I think it's called Night Studio. It's free, and I just
Not one that I'd say I've used.
it seems fine. There's some limitations to it compared to the other ones, but it's like the different engines or whatever they are, that they will create specific kinds of art. Like you can't customize you can customize it a little bit, but anyways, I did what you did, and I put the prompt in 6 months ago and got one picture. And then just recently, they had updated a bunch of their software or whatever it was, and I don't even know their engine or whatever it's called. And then I redid it in an updated one and got a completely different picture, but it was higher quality for sure, and it was more in line with what I thought the character might look like, and it was a little bit more realistic. The first one, they look kind of rubbery, and almost like you could tell it was like taking things and just sort of like smoothing and blending them together. But I was very impressed with how much it had changed in that short amount of time. Uh, and but yeah, I got some really cool characters, and I've been saving them right next to him. And now every time I'm writing a passage, I'm thinking like, this is what the guy looks like.
When
And
you do that, make sure you save your prompts as well.
I
That's the
started
thing.
doing
Like,
that.
yeah. So if you can have a sheet with a name on it, or any way of doing it, because prompting is that's where the magic lies.
Mhm.
You can anyone type in the word Supergirl, and you get a realistic picture of Supergirl up there. But if you want to get something that's in your mind on there, you have to be specific. It uses in programming. There's a term it's GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So if you give it shitty inputs, you're going to get a shitty result.
Right.
So what you need to do is you need to be specific to the point where you're over explaining it as if it's to a child, because you're doing it to something that doesn't have any real ability to reason or infer. So it'll take something that you've said,
Yeah.
and if you say like, oh, a man on the street, he's got red hair, he's got green hat, and he's holding an umbrella,
Yeah.
and all the colors are mixed up. Let it know, no, you've done wrong, not that. And if you're doing it through something like a chat GPT that has an actual computer interface, you can say, no, that's not what I want. This is the reason why. Or you can even ask it questions like, what color is his hat? And it goes, okay, the hat's, and then it'll analyze the picture, says the hat's red. It's like, I wanted it green. And it's like, okay, I'll remember that next time. Sort
Yeah.
of thing. So, yeah, prompt magic is key. Midjourney is one of those weird ones, is because you can put something in and it has all prompt engineering behind it.
Right.
So one word can get a huge thing, where other ones like Dali say, "Give me a little bit more detail, so I know exactly what you mean." When you say
Right.
fridge, what do you mean? I've got 100 million different pictures of fridges. I'm just going to randomly pick one
Yeah.
and do something based off that.
Yeah. I was realizing that because I was trying to get, I wanted to conceptualize this idea of the setting in which one this one scene takes place, and I wrote it a few times, and then I gave up because I couldn't explain it properly, and it would never give me the result I was looking for. I have to try it again because that was like 6 months ago, and I haven't gone back to try and put that same prompt in and see if I can get something uh, a little bit more, a little clearer. But yeah,
Do you use ChatGPT at all?
yeah. I actually, so I don't know how much longer I'm gonna keep it, but I do pay for GPT-4, so I can,
Yep.
and I
So do
use
I.
like,
It's I use that in every aspect of my in my business. When it comes to even something like I've got a data sheet that's got 1,500 people on there. So instead of typing up and writing in queries, I just drop it in there and I say, all right, I need to know people that have got this, done this, done this. Give me the list. Bam. All right. Compose an email, write it in a JavaScript so I can just automatically send it all off. There you go. I've just now saved myself 2 hours worth of work. It'll do it. I just go copy, embed the link, paste it. It's good to go. All that
dang.
stuff. Like I use it with that, and with images especially.
Mhm.
Um, it's hard because they're adding more and more restrictions to copyright material, um, and certain things like that. And it can be a little bit argumentative. So if I say I want a picture of President Biden eating an ice cream crying, it says I can't do that for policy things. I say, well then just give me an old president eating ice cream crying, and it'll give me one. I'm like, nah, try a different one. Bam, next one looks exactly like Biden. You can get around it, but
Oh,
it
okay.
won't necessarily do it that way because it doesn't know. It can't infer exactly what it is. It just knows rules in and out.
Okay.
And so knowing the the tips and the secrets, you can use it for every sort of thing, because the ability for it to look at images is a huge one. So, like the image that you said that you originally had, put that image in there and say, describe this to me as if I was a 5 year old. Or
Oh,
describe it to me in autistic detail. Copy that thing, throw it back into Midjourney and or your other thing, and you'll get a much clearer picture. Use your own work as the prompt.
interesting. I never thought of like using it in that way. And that's what's yeah, I'll try that for sure. Uh because it would be nice to see be interesting to see how the computer is interpreting that. Like how would you
Hmm.
describe this? And then yeah, okay.
The
Hmm.
biggest problem that we have when it comes to art and our own work, we have a knowledge biases
Yeah.
automatically because we know what certain things are. It'll look at it as a base image. It might go, that sun looks like an orange. And you're like, okay, maybe I need to do a bit more work on the sun, sort of thing, or something
Yeah.
like that. It breaks it down to the most basic level. And if you give it, you can literally even say, give it to me in autistic detail. For whatever reason, that's a perfectly good phrase for it to use, and it does. It'll break it down into points, different things. And if it gives you something that you don't quite like, you say, I love that, but can you do it better or do it this way? And they go, okay,
Okay.
they'll remember that for next time.
Okay. Oh wow. Now here's a question for you. Um and everyone listening, you're getting a lesson in AI and how it works. But when you put in like what is the most effective way to formulate something like describing a picture like should I just like put every detail with like red hair comma goatee comma dirty
You
face comma or like
you can, but what you can also do is you can also tell it a story. Just saying, all right, so this is a professional photography, so it knows it's okay. It's gonna have to look realistic. Of a young girl with red hair, she has dirt on her face. She's upset. Something's happened to just to put her in distress. Instead of saying dirty face, girl crying, tell it a story. It'll be able to infer from one point to the other what it means.
okay. That's really good to know. And well, we have to talk back, or either backstage or at some other point, because there's there's definitely things that I would like to use it for. Again, conceptualizing different scenes or characters in new ways, because I have the image in my head, and then I'm like, I just want to see them. I want to see this character how I think they would be. And sometimes it's way off. Sometimes I look at
Yeah,
what it spits out and I'm like, that's definitely not the character that I
yeah.
have in my head. But
And you're it's always going to be the struggle for every person who's ever come up with an idea, whether you're an artist, whether you're a digital artist, whether you're an AI enthusiast. Getting what's in here out there is always the hardest step.
yeah,
One of them involves years of talent and dedication and hard work, and even then, you still can't always get it.
yeah,
Um, and that's the thing. People feel like it's taking jobs away from people, and I think Arcosol had a question earlier on about that. And when it comes to that sort of stuff with AI, it's unfortunate that that's probably going to be the case, but those jobs have no right to be secure as well as any other jobs. That's the thing. The jobs that AI is going to take over are going to be the jobs that are non-physical for obvious reasons.
right.
Um, People confuse robotics and everything like Amazon lines as I. That's not an AI. There's no artificial. It's just a task orientated machine. The same
Right.
thing as a microwave as a toaster. It has a simple function. It's just connected to a lot of other things that have a simple function. It's just a factory.
Right. I mean, the a lot of the I mean, right now they're very simplistic in a lot of ways. It's just like, okay, this thing runs down a conveyor belt, it scans, and then like a door flips open one way or another, depending on where it needs to go. Like that's a lot of the automation that we see now
Yeah.
that's taking jobs from people. And there's an argument to be made too that those jobs, like what you wouldn't want that job anyway, standing there. Like most people are way more qualified for something than that. Maybe that's my white privilege talking. I'm not really sure,
Well,
but
from someone who's had no money, if I had the option of standing in a factory for 12 hours a day doing that to feed the family, I'm doing that versus
true.
not doing that.
True.
Um, but yeah, I think the main thing that we've got to try and look at is what are we using it for and why.
Yeah. Well,
Um, there is inherent dangers with it. Obviously, there is a huge problem when it comes to exploitation, blackmail. Blackmail is a huge thing with it because let's just say okay, I'll give you an example of something that actually happened to me. I was approached on Twitter by someone who wanted me to do a deep fake of their wife so that they could divorce them.
What?
Yep.
That's wild.
Yep. So it's the stuff like that where it's just like I got so I mean it made sense that the guy that's where his brain went to because he's heard AI can do this and everything like that. But I was so angry that he came to me about it. Like, I think that's what I do. Like, it was a weird thing because I was like, AI already has a bad enough rap, and I know coming up to, as everyone says, this is an election year, and this is the thing that's going to be really weird because it's so hard when people just read a title of a thing and then automatically infer what the entire article is, especially when it's a clickbait title from that. What's it going to be like when there's a picture? I mean, hell, we got pictures. What's it like when we've got a video? Well, I've done that. I mean, I literally just finished doing a video where we've got Tucker Carlson doing a rap.
Yeah.
Sounds like him, moves like him, talks like him. You wouldn't know the difference. Um, like even when I do stuff, like I did Culture Casino's most recent video is all AI because he was unable to do it, but I deliberately made sure it looked janky.
Hmm.
I used footage and everything in the clip where he's just standing there with his hands, where he's just in between his thoughts. So he's sitting there talking, and his mouth's just moving like that. So you know it's artificial. And I even started it off saying, "Hey there, this is AICC here.
Yeah. AI culture.
Yeah, hey democracy.
The and that's a good place to go because I think that there people don't understand the dangers and what because people, as you said, will try and use this technology for nefarious purposes, and that seems like one of the worst things you can do. Um, so
Because
was
that's
was
that's
it
that's
essentially?
when you get regulation into it. Like, um, op- open source technology is it's groundbreaking. Like the fact that there's so many different AI machine learning things that are out there that people have put hundreds of hours in just to make it open source so anyone can use it. That's how things evolve. And then that's such a good thing. But then you get someone who's going, well, I'm going to use it for a nefarious purpose. That brings the man down on you. That like even YouTube now, if you're an AI channel, they're looking to making sure that you don't get monetized, even though you've broken no terms of service. You've
Right.
created what's the difference between creating something in Photoshop and putting it up there? But if you've done it with an AI, which most people don't understand, all 3D rendering software has an AI built into it. Your textures, your lighting, that's all artificial intelligence that's doing it. Every single time that you change or move something, it's never the exact same thing, just like AI. But now they want to punish it because of a few bad characters, and I feel like that's what it's going to be. AI is going to become this uh, the next war the government wants against its people, and that's what
Yeah.
worries me.
The it's funny because we've talked about this before and on midweek hump and even in private, like what should be done and what classifies as art in this situation. And I agree with you. Like when AI uses something, it's essentially, I mean, it takes it and like essentially shreds it and puts it into its own like memory bank and rearranges it how it needs. um I guess the question is, at what point do, like, if you put in something that's, like, what if you put in a prompt that's very close to, some comic book art or whatever, and it spits it
Hmm.
out and you present it as your own? Is that your own, or is there a point where we have to say it's way too close to the original? Very much like plagiarism, like
Yeah.
you could go in and change a few words, but if it's too much in line with what's already been written and published, that's when people need to step in and be like, hey, now you're taking from someone else. Even though it went through an AI, it resembles source material too closely. Like, how do you think we deal with
So
that?
as a user, that's got nothing to do with you. Plain and simple. If you want to do that, you can do that because, especially in America, there is a built-in. system where if whatever I create with AI, I can't copyright that because it wasn't done by a person. There was
Okay.
the case of the monkey who took a picture of a woman, quite a famous thing, and they tried to copyright that picture, and the judge ruled no because copyright has to exist from the creation of something that's human, and an artificial thing that you create, a human hasn't created it. You've done the prompts and all that, but it was built and created in that, so therefore it can't be copyright. So if you try and pass something off as your own, well, you're not going to be able to because you've got no proof that you've created it. You've used the machine to do that.
How would one prove, like, I guess the question then becomes, how do you distinguish between someone's Photoshop work and AI? Would you have to, is there some, is there something that, is there metadata in AI art that can be seen? Uh, like when you take a picture on your phone, there's metadata involved with that that can tells you the time it was
Oh,
taken,
there's
where it
there's a
was
hundred
taken.
percent there's 100% metadata in there, and like even the stuff with Midjourney that I've done, that's 1,000 by 1,000 things. Some of them are 5 or 6 meg, and I'm like, JPEGs aren't that size.
Right.
So there's hidden information and stuff in there, and that's fine. They're protecting against their own, uh, I guess not even, it's not a copyright, but it's just a safety system. When it comes to the thing of a comic book, someone creating another thing like that, if you're trying to pass it off as your own, that's no different than hand drawing it and then trying to sell that. You're infringing on someone else's copyrights. They have a legal right to do that, especially if you're trying to sell it. If you're trying to make money out of it, then you're screwed. Doesn't matter what method you've used, whether you painted it yourself or anything. If it resembles too closely to the original,
Yeah.
um, and that's the thing. The big thing is going to come with the music industry, um,
Yeah.
because AI music is a huge thing. And like, how many times have you heard of Ed Sheeran just recently got sued by the state of Marvin Gaye because 3 out of the 4 notes that he constantly repeated were the same notes that were in another song. There's only 12 notes,
Right.
but like it's bound to happen.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. So with with AI, like there's some really convincing AI stuff out there when it comes to the audio, and that's what I'm really delving into at the moment.
What do you have? What do you think about? I mean, a lot of there was a big discussion recently in the past few months where with Shadiversity talking about his AI art and people getting upset regarding, what is real art, what is a real artist, and all that stuff. Uh,
Well, the interesting Shad's an interesting thing because his brother is a legitimate artist.
yeah.
Jazzer is a phenomenally good artist and someone who keeps up with current technology and everything like that. I'd never call myself an artist. The stuff that I've done, it looks like art, but it's there has to be a bit of self reflection when it comes to what it is. I'm
Mhm.
I'm I'm using a tool. I'm an AI enthusiast. That's what I call myself because I enjoy using that stuff. I do take my images and put them in Photoshop, rip them to pieces. I'll do 1,000 prompts to get one right image. Especially
Mhm.
with the music side of things, like the one that I did for you the other day. I think there's probably about 70 different generations of each line going around till I found the one that works.
Dang.
And then I take it in and I rearrange certain things. I do change it. It is transformative, but I'm not going to then call myself a musician. Some people might. It just for me, I'm aware of what it is. Um, at the moment, because I got a lot of respect for, like, one of my best friends is a phenomenal musician,
Mhm.
um, and I've shown him some of the stuff, and he can't believe how good it is. But I'm never going to say I'm a musician and he's a musician because it's two completely different sort of things.
Right.
It's At the moment it's kind of like what people thought DJs were back in the 90s. Press a button and music happens, because essentially that's where we're getting to a certain point.
Yeah. Do so. I'm guessing you would encourage people to, because I guess this is one of the things, I don't know. I followed a lot of the threads that were going around with, involving Shad in those discussions, and watched his live streams with people debating it. But one of the things I never really heard him say, and this is, I'm not disparaging Shad at all. Like, I love his channel, stuff he does. But with the AI art, like I've never really heard many people who are in support of AI art speak about the importance of understanding art on a different level. Like it's one thing to do what you do, like you say, you're an AI enthusiast, which I think is perfectly put. But I think in order to really delve into like using AI as an artist, there's a lot you have to know about color theory and lighting, um, and how those things come together to make a piece what it is. Um,
Why is the stroke on a painting left to right instead of right to left? Where it would, what was the person's mood at the time? Half the time, art is about capturing a moment.
right.
We got Paul in the chat. He's a musician. He'll know that when he's had a really either bad day or really good day, and he's put himself into music. There's something different about that. There is a part of you that you put into that, and because that usually takes time and more effort, where AI doesn't. There is a disconnect from, I want to say, the soul of the work, but I don't know
Mhm.
how else to describe it. Like, um, someone who's going through something when they're painting, they could paint the same image over and over again, but the one where they had a heightened emotion, there's something that looks different about it, and it's hard to capture that because AI doesn't understand emotion. It gets what emotion is, but it doesn't understand. Uh, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. Why would he stab the painting then? Nothing happened. He was just painting for 3 hours. They don't know what's going on up there. He could be
Right.
having a fight with his girlfriend in his head, and he's frustrated. He's come to a realization. Anything,
Right.
but it comes out in the work. And I feel like the biggest problem that AI has is it's getting too good to the point where there is no mistakes, there's no flaws, and that's what makes art fantastic. Is the little deviations, the details. You don't want to see a perfectly symmetrical face that
Right.
has no blemishes or anything because it doesn't inherently look real. I've never seen someone who looks like that.
Hmm. It's interesting how the human brain works like that, because it's something that when you're watching a movie, you can. It's very obvious when special effects come up because of how unrealistic. Like your eye just understands what's real for the most part, and anything that sort of deviates from that reality, your brain goes, "Whoa, what's that? There's something wrong there." Like, look at that. Look
That's
out.
why when you get that's why there's the arc. Something that doesn't look even human can look realistic, and then the closer that it gets to human, that's why they call it the uncanny valley of realism.
Yep.
So you can have someone whose eyes are just further down their face. Everything else looks perfect, but their eyes are just that 1 centimeter lower than they should be,
Yeah.
and your body goes, "There's something wrong with that."
Yeah.
This is a danger, but there is no physical danger. That's what the heebie-jeebies or feeling creepy is.
Yeah.
It's your body reacting to danger when there isn't actually danger.
Right.
We've still got that flight or fight response with everything that we do. So when we see, that's why children in horror films work so well, because children aren't inherently scary, but when they're in a scenario where you're in a forest and there's a kid walking towards you that's a toddler and he's got a knife and he's
Yeah.
smiling, you're like, I'm not going anywhere near that. That's ooh, what's that? And
Yeah.
then you watching that get the same reaction because it's creepy. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's what that's what AI needs. It needs to have that. It's skipping the uncanny valley, which is such an important um, part because it's never going to look real, but they want realism,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's the thing. They accidentally hit that, but that's always considered bad art because it doesn't
Yeah.
quite look right. But I love that sort of weird sort of thing because it's unique to it.
Yes. Yeah. It's the human elements of things are, I think, are really important. And it just, I don't know, it just showed like, because no one's perfect, right? We all have our flaws, and sometimes those flaws come through in our work, and they sort, and some people, like, I feel like there's, it just becomes a part of who they are and what they do, that quirk in them, and
That's we would call that a style.
mhm, yeah,
Someone plucks the top string way too hard on it, but they do it on every single song. It's no longer a mistake.
right,
That's a
yep,
style.
yep, yeah, and I when I see the debates surrounding AI art and is it art and all that, I'm like, I mean, I guess you could create a whole subset of AI artists whatever you want to call them. But I do think there's something lost in there, and I do, and I me personally, I have to give it to people who have trained their entire life to create art in a very real, visceral way. I don't think
That's
they
an
should pull the
artist.
right, and I don't think they
That
should pull the
art is
ladder up
their
behind
life.
them.
Most
Yeah,
people who do AI art aren't artists. They've never been artists.
right.
That's the point. That's the reason why they're doing it. Um,
Yeah,
I create my thumbnails from scratch because I've always done that from scratch because that's what I learned. I learned how to do thumbnails. I learned graphic design. That was so using an AI for that just it doesn't work for me because I
yeah,
already know what I want to do. I can do it quicker. I can do it better. I can do it. I might not be able to do it faster, but I'm going to be able to do it exactly how I want it.
right.
But for something like a cartoon, I can't draw.
Mhm.
Type in what I need to do a little tweak here and there, throw it in, change the post sort of thing, use the control net if I need to get the post exactly right. Bam, I've got it. Where people who can actually draw that, like someone like Ginger Ninja, I could never see an AI doing his style because his style doesn't make sense um to it. There's a surrealness to it, but a
Right.
reality to it at the same time. But it's on a
Yeah,
completely different style of playing. Like that's why I find myself now using more AI that I'm buying more physical media. I'm buying people's works more than I ever did in my life
yeah,
because there's an appreciation to it. Which I'll be honest, I never thought. I thought, oh, this will be great. If I want to get a picture or something, I'll just go print it up and everything. But because I can do 100,000 images in one night that look basically the same thing,
mhm.
it, it it loses it. But I'll pay $60 for Ginger to send me over a little, 4x4 coaster that he's worked on. Happily do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah, and I don't know if people realize like that process of in order to get this image, there's 10,000 images in its wake in order to get there. And almost like by the time you're done with it, you're like, like there's so many of it. It's kind of like the supply and demand. It's like, well, there's so many of them, really. And now, like, what is this actually worth? Like, sure, this one image exists, but like everything leading up to it. And actually, it gives me an idea. It would be a cool little flip book to make, uh, to like take your first iteration to like your 100th and like
Mm.
do it as like a flip book to see how it changes through that life cycle. That would be a fun little video.
But there you go. So you're taking something that's in the AI world and turning it into something real, putting it into a book and everything. You're creating art from that. That's a different
Right.
sort of story. Like you, you
Yeah.
you're showing a message, a journey through that, instead of just taking the image and printing it up and saying that's art.
Yeah, and one of the things I've realized too is I think most people are inherently like good. I don't think people by and large are trying to do something that's going to harm other people. Given people's natural instincts, they will generally help others and not try and hurt others. Obviously, there's exceptions to the rule, but I think most people would use AI as a tool to enrich themselves, but also like have fun and not try and steal. Uh,
Yeah. But
so, I mean, that's sorry. Go ahead.
stealing, yeah, like just to go without, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you with that, but yeah, the stealing point is the thing that's where we've got to try and work out because I haven't stolen anything. I didn't create the AI. I
Yeah.
just I used a tool, and then they go, well, is that just as bad? I don't think it is. But I have no control over what ChatGPT trained itself on. I have no thing of what Midjourney trained itself on. So if I can't control, if I have no control over the aspects of it, I have no moral guilt about using it or not. Um, if they've done something that's that bad, they will be sued and they will lose, and then they'll stop doing it. But they've been
Right.
sued, and everyone that sued them has lost every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't they're currently in a lawsuit with the New York Times, right? Is that what's going on? Like they're
New
because
York Times, ChatGPT, I think they've got like 150 different lawsuits going on at the moment. You know, it's something ridiculous, but they're not going to win because there's no proof of what it is that they're done. And even if there was proof that information was in there, they've got no proof that they willingly put it in there. Because once the information gets in there, it gets destroyed and then recreated.
Yeah.
So they could know the entire history of what happens in George R. R. Martin, one of George R. R. Martin's book, without it ever seeing a single page, based on the information that's scraped from uh, thread theories and different things, and people talking about it, scripts from videos of people going through it, looking at everything else but the actual source material. You can still get all that information, and that's the way that they've got around most of the stuff. They haven't fed into it the works of you know, Shang Tsung, whatever his name is,
Sun Tzu.
um, Sun Tzu. Yeah, I was getting that mixed up with the Mortal Kombat guy. You know, the Art of War. They never put the Art of War in there, but what they did is they put thousands of different other mediums that have spoken about it, that have broken it down to that point. That's why when you ask it to create something verbatim, it can't. It can say, I can't do it verbatim, but I can give you the essence of what it is.
What about, so I mean, therein lies an issue though, right? That you have to be careful the information you do get from ChatGPT, because there's a lot of false information out there that it's probably taking in as well. If it's taking in information that's true, it's also taking in information, especially from the web, that's been fabricated. It's probably not as much as that information, but it's still probably considering that. Or how does it parse out that false information, or and does it? Do you know?
Well, basically, you know, like the great Gandhi said, you can never trust anything on the internet. You know,
Yeah.
so like it's basically how most AIs seem to work is they work in a two-tier system. You got one that's trying to trick the other AI, and the other one that's designed to stop it. This one that's designed to stop the first AI is extremely good. It's always the better of the two, but in doing so, it forces the first one to try and trick it. So when it gets information, it'll pass off different things that'll be like George R. R. Martin is a tall black woman. It's like that's not right. We know that from the other things. This and then it'll every time you do that, it'll keep going back and forth with it until it gets something that passes or a
Okay.
certain level of truth. People don't use ChatGPT for a Wikipedia because ChatGPT uses Wikipedia, so therefore it's
Right.
inherently flawed.
Right.
When models get trained on art models, it's very important not to put the AI art back in there because it's like taking a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. It's going to degrade.
Right. Okay.
Um, yeah. So what was the question again? Sorry, I've done that again
Well,
now.
it was a kind of a multi-part question. It was basically like, should we worry that the information that we're getting out of ChatGPT is, you know, possibly false because it's taking in false information? I think you kind of answered it though, because you're
Yeah.
saying that
Yeah.
it's,
So yeah. Yeah. Well, it's not so much it's that's the thing. It's just taking in data, and all it's doing is spitting out data to you.
yeah,
So if you believe that what ChatGPT is saying is true, then that's on you. It's the same thing as reading anything in a book or in. It's essentially, even though a machine came up with it, it's all still written by a person. Somewhere along the line, every single bit of text that's ever been written has been written by a person, because there's never been an AI or something that's created stuff that hasn't had to have input to begin with. You
okay,
can devolve a chain. There's a cool YouTube channel called 2 Minute Papers, and they break down different things with AI. They had this thing where they were training these two AIs on just walking, and the goal was for person A to get past this line, and person B was to stop them. And what would happen was, because they would just both fall down because they hadn't been trained on anything yet.
yeah,
It was just the same thing. This one was winning, so they thought the secret to success was just to keep falling down until this one realized that no, maybe that's not what it is. A couple of 100 million things later, they're walking and they're trying to push each other. Okay, pushing sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. And then it brought into, okay, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to physically, like, because it's a stick figure, I'm going to hit you. And then
yeah,
when that doesn't, and when that didn't work, it figured out, oh, I can flinch. But you're talking like 300 million iterations of things that are learning. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with one success and 150 million plus failures.
Oh, it's so funny you mentioned that. I used to occasionally peek in on this TikTok live channel that was it was an AI playing Super Mario World. And
Hmm.
it all it was trying different things. It would start off and it would run into the first enemy and then it realized that was wrong. So it would try and time it right to get over
Yep.
that enemy because it realized that
All, yeah. All it knows is it has to get to, when it gets to this point, that's considered a goal. It knows two commands: forward and jump.
yeah.
Um, and then they added in the back command later on, because the problem is when you add a new command in, they want to try it.
Yeah.
But like, yeah,
It was
it's large language learning models like that are good. Those ones that you can see them working in, I'm not going to say in real time, because that happens with the amount of supercomputers and everything that we've got going at the moment. We're talking about thousands of iterations of the same thing per second. Because if it doesn't have to display it and it's just doing it, you're
yeah.
not technically seeing it. And because unlike our real world, it's not bound by time. It's only
Oh
bound by
wow.
its hardware and its power. So a
Right.
simulation that would take 10 minutes in the real world to see how long it would get there to be a failure. Like, is it possible for a person to crawl across this in 10 minutes? And it's in the AI trying to do it. It's not taking 10 minutes per iteration. It's doing thousands of them
Right. Wow.
just based off the, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary to think like, I mean, there's computers running right now. I'm sure they're running simulations on things because humans have run simulations on live simulations on things, and now you don't even
Experiments.
need to. Yeah,
Any sort of medical experiment that involved a person was running a simulation in real life.
that's this way. Like that's where I think like AI is such a double edged sword because there's so much good that can be done with it, but I feel like the bad that can be done with it is like exponentially worse. It's just it's such an unknown. I mean, we have movies like Terminator and all that, but like, I mean, it's a movie. Like, is that how it would play out? I mean, that's all we know. But a machine, like you said, is not bound by time. If given the right circumstances, it could be running things that we don't even know about. It could be building out, it could be partitioning drives in order to do things that are not seen by those who are monitoring it. Like, what you know what I mean? Like it's just there's so many
Yeah,
things
but
out
it's the
there.
thing of it is it's got to learn that, and if it hasn't had
Right.
any sort of ability to learn something, it's like a child. A child's not going to know how to drive a car if they've never ever seen a car or been around a car.
Right.
Like, you put them in a car and you go, and they're like, "What do you mean go? What? Go
Yeah.
what? Get out of the car?" Like, they wouldn't even be able to do anything. It's like that, but unfortunately, people think, well, they've got time, they're going to learn what to do and how to do it straight away. Um, it's not the same way, because a kid is still never going to be able to drive a car.
Right.
There are limitations to certain things, but the reason why I'm not worried about the Terminator type sort of things is because we don't physically have the technology to be able to do any of that sort of stuff. Like, I've on
Right.
my channel, I've got some stuff where I've got AI robots fighting people, and people think it's real, to the point where like they think it's scary. Oh, imagine how much power a robot would punch. I'm like, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. It still physically needs to be able to generate the energy. And what batteries is it going to use? How often is it going to be charging? Like, you think we're
Right.
actually going to have a frontline war with anything like that? And people are like, well, they're going to nuke everything. I was like, no, they won't nuke anything. If they know what the major thing from a nuclear weapon is, it's electromagnetic rays. EMP and an electromagnetic pulse will completely fry their entire circuits.
Right. I saw an interesting thing today. Uh, I've been checking out like the STEM thing on TikTok, which is actually pretty cool. But one of the guys on there was talking about the fast chargers for like the Teslas or electric vehicles and how much power that actually draws from the grid. And he was basically saying that it draws about 125 kilowatt hours or something like that per charge. And he's like, and to put that into context, like a home, like an average home pulls like 1.2 or some like really low number, and how much energy like that one car in order to fast charge it, full charge in 20 30 minutes or whatever. It's it's a lot of energy to be pulling from the grid. Essentially, like 200 homes or something like that per, per charge. Like that's hooking up. It's like, well, where do you get all that energy from? Like people don't understand that the technology is fascinating, but in order to, like in the instance of like California, in order to fully or not automate, to fully power all electric vehicles and no gasoline, like we don't have the means to do that currently.
We don't have the means to stock the batteries.
Right.
Batteries are a completely inefficient way of storing electrical energy, but it's the
Yep.
best version that we have at the moment.
Yeah. Um, and it, like, so when I hear that, and then I think like, oh, like Terminator's like, well, if we, we could, not barely, I mean, the technology that we have right now to charge a car, like there's no way, like that battery will die in 15 minutes. And then you have, then where are you going to get the energy to charge these things? I do think if we did have robots or cyborgs or whatever that were, um, like Terminator style, they wouldn't necessarily like be able to punch through walls because, like you said, they got to generate the energy from somewhere. But the actuators and stuff in that hand, like their gripping power would be insane. Like so, if they got a hold of you, it could probably just pop your head off just because of how, I mean, you wouldn't stand a chance against something like that. But then again, I'll be honest, I don't fully understand that stuff. But I would assume like a hydraulic, you know, grip in a hand would do some damage to a human if it got a hold of it.
Then one, I mean, how often do hydraulic things bust and leak? Then
Right.
that
A
thing's
lot.
completely useless. Like,
Right.
um, for a Terminator to actually exist, what the robots and everything have to do is they have to make human life better first. They have to be our saviors before our destroyers. They have to be able to fully automate every aspect of life. Because when we're gone, they're gonna have to deal with that. They're gonna have to do all the repairs themselves. They're gonna have to do someone who picks up trash and all like everything that we do. They're gonna have to have someone that does that, or something that's good at doing that. Like pure the more this is the thing of it is we break down, but we heal.
Right.
They don't. Okay, there's more things. They're gonna create more robots to fix stuff. Then what happens to those ones? You've now got more robots are breaking down each year. It's going to be a scenario where without humans in there, they're never going to be able to sustain themselves
True.
because the more that they create, the more that they're breaking down now. Whether it's just a
Yeah.
robotic arm on a conveyor belt or anything like that, or whether it's a fully automated uh, thing,
I guess they would
getting
have
something
to.
upstairs in a factory that's heavy is hard. So
Yeah.
you're telling me that where a human could walk up and do everything, you're gonna have a little robot that's gonna be able to move. Like, look, you see how often what do you call it, rovers, the Hoover things on the floor, the little robot
Oh
things,
my
how
god.
often they have to charge?
Yeah. Well, how
Like,
inefficient they are. I hate the damn thing. We have one. We like never use it because it's like I'd much rather just go around and do it myself, like
yeah,
fast.
I got a professional grade backpack one.
Yeah.
Uh, the carpet squares that I have in here, I'll go 3 minutes and it's done. You know,
Yeah. Yep. And those
ten
stupid
minutes
Roombas get clogged. Like they'll suck up one like crayon. It's like
Well,
it's
that's the
done.
thing. Unless you're paying for the ultimate top end of it, you've got to empty it out. You've got to do all that stuff yourself. You've got to maintain it anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
You spend more time pulling hair out of the freaking rollers than you would if you just had a vacuum cleaner.
Right. Right. Uh yeah, it's bizarre. Like like I don't foresee the Terminator thing happening. I think I was gonna say the only way I would think that we would have to worry about them taking over without making our quality of life better would be they'd have to find some way to simulate us, like similar in the Matrix, right? They'd have to like find a way to farm us and like cattle, and that's a high order for anything. So,
But even
but I would
then,
say if
if
we
that
could
was
do
the
that,
case, they wouldn't use humans.
right? Yeah,
There's so many other animals that have larger brains that they could,
yeah. It's just, yeah, it's just I don't know. It's still scary to me. It's not as scary since we've talked. I will admit you've calmed my nerves a little bit about AI, but the yeah, I think the larger conversation around the art is something that, well, I wouldn't say I have no skin in that game, but I do think that I think people should recognize that there is clearly a difference between someone who's spent their life working on art and those who are just sort of dabbling in AI prompts. It's just totally different.
even
And
even if you can't tell by looking at two images which one's
right,
which, it doesn't take away the work that's involved. One of them is inherently better based purely and simply on the fact that one took work. It's the same reason as why prints aren't as good as a painting, or someone who
right,
um, did a duplication of a painting. Even if
yeah,
it's down to the strokes and everything, it's still not as good. This was Da Vinci. He did this one. This was Van Gogh. You're not Van Gogh. It's not the same thing.
right, right.
No matter how much I can copy Ginger Ninja's stuff or anyone's, I'm not them. It's not this. It's never going to be the same. I can convince someone it is, and that's where people are going to be upset, and I can get that. But people will find a way to scam you for anything.
It's true. It is true. Do you think? I don't know. Maybe I already asked the question. Is there
Sometimes
anywhere
I
we
think.
can? What's that?
Sometimes I think, yeah.
Yeah, right. Is there any line that we draw with AI? And I maybe I already asked this question, but you did say that you it sounded like you were pretty open to AI just sort of existing and not regulating it too much. But is there anything that you think that we could?
I think for me, it's personally, I'm never going to do anything that's going to overtly bring harm, and I'm never going to do anything like sexualize a child. Um, People will find ways to use it for whatever they want. There are I got an AI on my computer that I can take a photo and I can put it in a precarious position. And yeah, just one click. Literally, I could take a picture. We could take a picture of you, and it'll essentially be you lying on your back, showing the world your butthole.
Wow.
That has that capability of it, because someone wanted it, so someone created it.
Damn.
Um, and that's what I'm saying. Like I wouldn't use that because I have no purpose for it. Because I find the creative side of things to be better for me.
Yeah.
I'm not an angry, bitter person. If I was, who knows what I would use it for? If I can see like what revenge porn became, how it became uh, a crime essentially in certain places. I can see this being very similar, sort of thing. We've even had people within our own spheres. People have yeah ruled 34 them. You know, someone tried to do it to Anna, that Star Wars girl, and she said, "Fine, release it. Do you think this is going to hurt the sales of my calendar?" Like,
Yeah.
it's not like there's so much shit around that people will find a way to do something, and I think it's up
Wait.
to the individual person, because the moment that we give up any form of control to the government's going to use that to control us.
Right. Yeah. Wait, what's rule 34 AI?
So rule 34 is if something exists and there's a porn version of it. So right now, here and now, there is a porn version of a hairy man with a Make Marvel male shirt and a guy in a white shirt doing something and a bottle of ranch or lube involved. You know. So it's basically saying that it's essentially saying deviant art exists.
Right.
So My Little Pony, yeah, there's brony porn.
Uh,
The Simpsons, there's that. Like,
People are
but
weird.
But when you flood the world with artificialness and in authenticity, people crave the authentic. As I said, that's what happened with me, and it was the biggest surprise. I never thought I would be, you know, actively seeking out to buy. Like, I could buy a digital copy of a comic now from someone. I'm like, no, I actually want the physical thing, because
Yeah.
I could scan it, I could create it. It's my own thing. You didn't really know what Rule 34 was, or you just wanted me to explain it? You surely you knew what that was.
Nope. No, had no idea.
I am shocked.
Yeah, I, I don't know why I didn't. There's a part of me that I don't know, like there, there's some things that I am ignorant to by choice, but also just because I, in recent history, have tried to disconnect from the online stuff as much as I possibly can.
You go on
Um,
TikTok. How do you not like? My God.
well, yeah, my TikTok feed is very, very weird. I
Oh.
wish I could. I should just like thumb through it someday for people so they could see like what I see on a regular basis. It's mostly what I see on TikTok. I'll just say my algorithm is Overwatch 2 live streams because I do like watching people who are good playing Overwatch 2.
The lot of Rule
Um,
34 for Overwatch.
yeah, oh, I bet. Even though they nerfed Tracer's butt. eh.
Not
But
from what
anyways,
I've seen.
and let's see, TikTok debates are a lot of trans individuals debating are on my feed just because I'll watch them for like 20 minutes while I'm driving sometimes and listen to what they're saying. I actually have a script written right now about the disingenuous nature of TikTok debates, and sort of exposing that because it's wild the things that you'll hear. It's mainly a video, so people don't have to watch my TikTok live debates, so they understand what is going on and why most of them are ineffective. Not because these people are, like you could say whatever you want about the people in general, but how the arguments are formulated or how they're presented are just a trap, and they're meant to just feed them money and get money from their audience and then make their opposition rage quit because they're dealing with stupid people. So
Yeah, well, I mean, if you walk away, then that's classified as a loss. So that's
yeah,
how they look at it. So
yeah,
I win. What did you win? The battle. What
exactly.
battle? What happened?
Yeah,
They left. Well, what were you doing? Well, I was screaming at them, just going. I'm like, that's a win. Okay.
yeah, it's I mean, even
Perception.
I've gotten kicked from some of these lives before because
I've
someone
seen.
paid. Yeah, some people have paid, other people are like, i think i I think I said the word retard, so they immediately kicked me.
Hmm.
And then, but I wasn't I don't know if I called them retarded. It was just more like, that's retarded, like as in
Yeah.
this is really
That's
dumb.
you said that's a retarded take.
Yeah. And yeah, and it's just like, and that's what I mean is like, they don't really want to have a discussion. That's the big problem with these things, is they just want to talk at people
Yeah, they want
and
to yell at
not.
someone.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's a pretty cool script. I hope to get it out soon. I have to just record it. I'm editing it.
Is it a
The
script or a manifesto?
Oh man, try not to make it a manifesto. But yeah, just it's the roughest script I've ever written. I sat down, I think 2 days ago, and just I was letting it fall off my brain onto the page, and there's a whole bunch of red squiggles that I have to go back and fix. But I got most of it out, and I think I can structure a video around it pretty well. I do need to probably do a couple more lives in order to get some sound clips and sound bites from them, because I want people to understand like, this is what they're saying, and let me prove to you that this is what they're saying. I don't want to just say it. I want
Yeah.
I want to be able to get that. And
So, cool little exercise you can do. Take some of the older scripts that you've done,
mhm.
put them into ChatGPT. Put them in a text document.
Yeah.
Put it into ChatGPT and say, "I want you to read these. Copy the tone. Even though you can't do cadence, you just tell it to do it anyway.
Okay.
Cadence. And make this next script, and then you paste your current your wording in there in the exact same style, keeping the way in which it talks, sentence structure, length, everything the same,
Oh.
and put it in there, and then read it to see how close it would get to you. Because I've done that a couple of times with certain things, and it's helped me to go, okay, yeah, I don't like that. That's where I was going to go, but now that I've seen it out there, and then go back and rewrite your whole thing.
Oh.
Or if it's good enough, you could even just use that, because you've given it the example. You're training it on you. So the more that you have, if you've got a document that's got 100 scripts in there, and you go, this is going to be called Shag script style. So if I say rewrite these bullet points in Shag script style, it'll know to reference that document. It'll do that. especially if you've got like a recurring intro and outro and
Right.
the way in which
Yeah.
that you talk. If you ideally if you can get the subtitles from YouTube because it'll have timing, so that way you can also include timing into it. So that way it'll help with that. So that way you can pace yourself out with it.
Interesting. That's
And worst comes
really
to worst, you can always throw it into like an 11 Labs or something just to hear it.
yeah.
And most of the time when I throw stuff in there for myself, because one, it doesn't do Australian accents, because the base model is trained off Northern American.
Okay.
um I'll use that to go, you know what, it looked good on paper but sentence structure didn't work when I'm hearing it together. And I
Yeah.
use that as a tool for every time I write, whether I'm doing like songs, whether I'm doing stories, doesn't matter for whatever client it is. I'm using it because it's for $20 a month. It's the best tool on the planet. Like, just having someone there just to ask a question about, just put in your thing and just say, why is this bad, and it'll say, oh, I can't say whether something's good or bad. Just like objectively tell me why this wouldn't be an A plus or something like that. You got to find working a way around it, and it'll point out all the mistakes that you didn't realize, and you go, all
Yeah.
right, perfect. Now I can go back and fix it.
I've actually used ChatGPT to help me. So I had ideas in uh for naming one of my characters because I wanted there to be some connection to I forget how I worded it, but I was like I like give me names uh of men that in a world that doesn't have technology and I put it through that and it gave me some really really cool names. Some of them were kind of dumb and stupid, but there was a few in there and I even asked like make a few that like have some like biblical ties and loosely like might mean death or destruction or something like that. But
Yeah.
and they gave me some and they would even like say like this name and this is where it comes from and I was like wow this is
I,
fucking cool.
add one thing to that prompt. Say do it in Excel spreadsheet style, and it'll give it to you in the code. And then all you do is just copy that and paste it in there. It'll be like the name, the meaning, biblical reference.
That's cool.
So I said garbage in, garbage out. What you give it is what it gives you back. These are
Well,
all
either
little.
either way it was super helpful because like in the moment it was just like I was like I want to like I know what this character is and I have a name for it. I was like, but like how much cooler would it be if I tied it to something like this and then I could have the antonym or the
Mm-hmm.
character be a reflection of that and run a similar prompt. But the designing names it was like female names and male names in a world that's like is devoid of technology and they don't have electricity or something like that and it came through with some really really cool option. I was even able to one of the things I asked it to do was give me I said give me options on names for alternative names for metal in a for a culture that's never seen metal before or
Yeah.
whatever. And it came with some wild things that like I'm like, wow, that totally makes sense. And that's cool. Like you could totally use something like that to paint the picture of this world that's never experienced technology in the way we have. Like, and they wouldn't
Yeah.
form words. So, like there wouldn't be something called metal. It would be something that was associated with a piece of the earth that, they'd never synthesized,
Yeah.
iron
So
from
it'll either be something to do with it being hard or slippery or
right.
any of those other ones. Yeah. So, but also another cool thing you can do, adding back onto that, ask it to write it phonetically as well. So then you know how to say it.
That's too fun. I need to
Yeah.
stop learning about this. I won't ever leave it. But like those are the tools I think are helpful to artists, especially because there's I love telling stories, but sometimes I get bogged down in the like, what should I name this thing? And if I have an idea of
It's
like,
so hard because
yeah,
I find myself, that's where I start,
mhm,
and if I don't get the name right, it's like I'm all in. I'm gonna do this story and everything. All right, what's the character's name? all right, so I don't want to avoid the things like it's the bad guy. I'm not going to call him Shepherd because that's
Yeah.
kind of cliche, meaning he's really bad. And I get stuck into it. And by the time I've got, I'm like, I don't like the name. I'm like, I don't want to write this fucking story anymore.
Yep.
Shit, you
Yep.
know.
Yeah. Can't name him Larry. That's too boring. I can't, and you don't want to. Yeah. No, I'm there with you, man. It's something, but that tool has been really valuable in well, breaking the writer's block sometimes, right? Because you get stuck on a name. I don't know what to call it, that person or this place. But then you can say to it, I want the connection to this place to like you tell it the story.
Yep.
This is where I'm going with it. What would I name this place that has all these details? And it gives you
And
20 different options.
always add these two words in, and why. If
Oh.
you're giving it a story, you can
Mhm.
say and why. Like, I said you can even break names down phonetically. It's like, okay, what does each of these words mean in the world? Like you say, for instance, you've got a character and a common name is just, we'll just say Turak or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, break down the word Turak in the context of this world. Why? What would each sound mean? Is there a meaning?
Hmm.
Is Tur meaning son of? There you go. You've now got certain thing, or maybe Rak means warrior class or something like that. So then you've got something that you could build that world onto based purely
Right.
simply on names.
Yeah.
So that way, when you get stuck later on, you've already created your own cheat sheet. Okay, this guy's here. Wait a minute, this is a bit weird. He's saying he's a part of the warrior class, but he's got a completely different name and style. That's why these people don't trust him.
Right.
You don't have to write, or he's acting really shifty or anything like that. It could literally be the intuition is like, how was a warrior, someone from the warrior class, so good at gardening?
Right.
How are you gathering all this food and everything like that when you're called so and so?
Yeah.
It can help with that level of world building, and I
Right.
think doing that sort of thing, it'll add little things in that you just like, oh, never thought of that.
Yeah.
That could work.
Well, yeah, and that's yeah, like it in some ways as it's like it might give you that little quirk that you were looking for,
Yeah,
or that little like cherry detail, like, well, I have this idea of what this person looks like and how they act. Now, like, what would like, I can't think of like, name this person, and like you said, and why is that their name? Because then
and
out of there,
why
like you
is
said, you can
so
start
important.
yeah, and you can start building out like what this world is with all those details. And there's been times too where I'll get names that all look really cool, but like I'll change something in there because I'm like, oh, I don't really like how it's spelled. It's too close to something else, and I'll just mess with it a little bit, and but then you can sort of keep all those details. Uh, and I haven't done it this way, but I thought like running the stories back through and saying like, are these details consistent? You know, are these names all like like you said, part of the warrior class, or is there something off? Or you could start doing stuff like that because can I afford an editor? Probably not. Um, but ChatGPT can help me with maybe some of the story aspects that need to stay consistent. Uh,
When you
so
finish writing your story, put it in a text document, throw it in there, get it to do two things: find a plot twist that you can do in there, and make sure it's based on all things that have been foreshadowed. And if you don't think there's something that's been foreshadowed, it'll find something.
mm,
And then to find all plot holes, find all things that haven't been resolved.
interesting. So the other thing I did, so I used a lot of like Christmas money and stuff to get a hold of like a year subscription on a lot of stuff. So one of the things I subscribed to for the year was Grammarly because they also have their own like AI stuff
They got a
that they
pretty good
use.
rewriter with
Right.
Grammarly.
So I've been trying to see how those two work.
Hmm.
And but yeah, the rewriter I haven't used it very much. There's a couple of lines that I used that I was just like, oh, like I don't really like that. I can't. So I had it rewrite it, and some of it was cool, but a lot of it didn't. It didn't really reflect my voice all that well, which I didn't like. Um, and I haven't really experimented with it because I don't know if you can train Grammarly in the same way you could
You can't.
train.
No.
Yeah. So, um,
Grammarly is it's very you've got with Grammarly you've got your different styles that you can write. You formal, informal, street, casual. You've got those ones, and that determines what it is. But it's still only trained on a base set of things.
right,
And Grammarly is one of those ones that if you throw into an AI detector, nearly 100% of the time it'll pick up that it's AI written,
right,
even if you've written the thing and they've just changed a few of the words.
right.
So
Um, well, that's really cool. I'll tell you what, I feel like I've learned quite a bit about AI tonight. It's like I said, that's why I like talking to you about this stuff because I think you approach it in a really practical way, and not like a fanatical way that some people like either swear by it or like totally denounce it. I think you walk a good line, and I think the things you're using it for are practical and they suit your needs. And maybe one day you won't need to. Maybe you'll get to a point where, well, I don't really need to use this anymore. I can hire people to do these things and do the physical part of it and not just the
yeah,
AI generation. But it like you do a lot of fun, cool stuff, and it's really a lot of times it's a breath of fresh air from a lot of the content that a lot of us consume because it's original, it's funny, and I mean especially when you mimic my voice or someone else's voice, and it's just hilarious to watch it, to listen to it, even read a silly line that you made up. Uh, so I dig it, man. I dig what you're up to and all the things you've been killing it as far as your YouTube channel and getting that up over. What are you at now? Are you over 120?
just no, just shy of 110. So
110,000.
yeah.
Awesome, dude. Um, well, we're gonna for those who are watching, I really appreciate everyone being here, and those who are listening on other platforms. It's been a lot of fun tonight. Hope you learned something about AI through Grant. But yeah, before we break and do our members only segment for local subscribers, what do you got going on, man? What is anything coming up that you want to talk to people about?
So we got back of the year on the Full Aussie this week. I literally today we released via High Res TV. He's a rapper. You might know him for the guy who does all the Uber driver raps. Um, yeah, he's done a couple of raps, and he's been using AI to change voices. So currently got one that's just come out on Tucker Carlson. So yeah, it's dude, it fucking bangs. It's way better than it has the right to be. I love it. It's so good. And so I did the lip syncing and found the clips and did all the visuals. He was responsible for that. So yeah, it's high res HIREZ TV. If you look for that, and you'll also see the Joe Biden one, which is called "Come On Man."
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm excited for the Tucker Carlson rap. That'll be funny. Uh, and let's see. Yeah, as for me, just keep an eye out on the channel, guys. I have a lot of interviews coming up for Ready Set Shag this month. January is stacked. I'm gonna release a graphic that shows everyone that's coming up, so you guys can prepare, decide who you want to come and watch. Hopefully, it's everybody. But Grant, it was awesome talking to you today. Looking forward to our after show for those who are members at on locals. That will go up in the next couple of days, and you'll be able to watch our after party. So thank you guys so much. We'll see everyone next time. Later.